All right, guys. Injuries from the game. Colton McKivitz ended up having an MCL sprain. He's going to be out a while, very similar to what Elijah and Aziz have. Eric Armstead with the split/ankle. He's still being evaluated right now, so don't have any new information for you guys yet. Juwan Jennings had an ankle sprain in the game. He'll be day-to-day this week. And that's it for the game. Go ahead.
How close was Kinlaw to playing, and what's his kind of status this week?
I mean, he put up a big fight to try to play on Monday, but he wasn't that close to going. But he wanted to work out before the game, so we gave him a chance, and we decided to be a lot safer to wait this week and see how he reacts.
Is Jalen Moore next up at left tackle, or is Daniel Brunskill now an option there?
We'll see how this week plays out. Really haven't discussed it yet, but most likely it'll be Jalen Moore, but we know Dan's always an option.
What's Trent Williams? Is there any clarity with Williams' injury and how long he'll be out?
I mean, he does have a high ankle sprain, so we didn't put him on IR, so hoping he can come back sooner, but I think, like I said last time, you never know with those. So we're checking it week by week.
Kyle, after watching this film and you see the kind of production that Cooper Kupp had with 14 catches, 122 yards, how do you feel about the job you guys did in just limiting him to under 10 yards per reception and I think about 6.4 yards for every time they targeted him?
I thought we did a real good job, obviously, just keeping him out of the end zone. I mean, he's such a good player. It's really hard to take away things with him, especially with his quarterback and mixing up man and zone. And so definitely got the numbers, but to not give up the big play and let him score, to me, is what it was about. And that's what allowed us to stick with it.
Well, you mentioned that ankle with Armstead. Is that new, or was that always part of the foot injury?
It's part of the foot injury.
Kyle, what's the situation with Jimmy Ward and Jason Verrett, and are they available for this week?
Yeah, they're eligible to return this week. We expect to get them out there tomorrow.
Kyle, how would you evaluate the offensive line play? Kyle, how would you evaluate the offensive line play given the amount of injuries that they have had?
I was real impressed with them, man. Just as a whole group, it was a huge challenge as always going against that team with the personnel they have on the D line and all the different fronts they do. I thought we made much fewer mistakes than the week before. And there was a lot more challenges with just the mental part of the game with all the different options we had to do with protection. So I thought they were really great in picking things up, and they also gave Jimmy a lot of time when we needed it.
Kyle, I don't know if it's more obvious now or if it's always kind of been like this, but it does appear like Nick Bosa is not only getting held, but getting held pretty obviously on a lot of plays. Have you guys reached out to the league? Has there been communication with, officials to try to keep an eye on that?
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. It's something I've seen a lot with him since he's been here, going back to his first year in the Super Bowl. So it's always been tough with that. But yeah, we turn everything in every week, and sometimes they agree, sometimes they don't. But that's kind of the standard quo when anything has to do with that, and you just hope it improves.
You had 7 players go all 74 snaps on defense, including 3 defensive backs. Was that sort of the plan going in against the Rams, or if they would have lined up differently, would you have subbed differently?
Yes. I mean, if they had a fullback and they did those type of personnels, I'm sure we would get our 3 linebackers on the field, but that's something they don't really do much. So we went in the game expecting it, and we don't really rotate our corners, especially the way they've been playing. And Demo did a hell of a job in this game too. Strung 2 good games back to back.
Kyle, sorry if this been asked already. A little bit late. Didn't get the update on the time, but you mentioned last night you couldn't wait to look at the film on your defense to see how they did. Just look at the details. As you went back over, Kyle, anything strike you just specifically about what happened last night on defense?
Yeah, it wasn't just any one area that we dominated in. I think, but all areas had their opportunities. I mean, there were times that the D line did it, which I think was obvious to everyone with the amount of sacks and the pressures. But what I thought was cool is they had a couple times in the game where they picked up a couple of our 5-man rushes, and Stafford had some time, and just to watch our guys in man coverage, especially our two corners on the outside and Demo in the slot. I thought there was a few plays in particular that they held up for a while. And then just the play of our safeties. Huff making that play. Gibb made a few big plays also. I know he would love to have that pick. And then our linebackers had their moments too. So just distributing it throughout the team, where everyone had to kind of take their opportunity to help out the other side. It was pretty cool to watch.
Not wanting to have you rank things, but I'll ask you, and Bosa mentioned the 3 levels of the defense, underline that. Is this the best kind of back seven you've had, and maybe specifically the best secondary you've had since you've been here?
Yeah, I believe it has the opportunity to be. I mean, I think at this time, with just how well we're covering on the outside, how nice our safeties have played together, having the depth of getting Jimmy back, hopefully getting Jason Barrett in there, and Demo here these last couple of weeks has really stepped it up too. So I'm not going to say we're there yet, but I do believe that we have that opportunity to be in. I expect us to be before it's said and done.
Kyle, I bet you felt like D'Amico did a good job of mixing it up. I'm just curious how you've seen him grow in terms of when he presses the right buttons and all those types of things over the last year and a half or so.
Yeah, D'Amico's so naturally talented and really, I mean, he's good at everything he's ever done. And he really understands football. He did as a player. He did as a quality control in his first year. He did as a linebacker coach, and he has as a coordinator. And he was good right away. But anytime you have someone who does have those type of abilities, the more reps they get, like everybody, they get better. You go through experiences and you learn from the good and the bad. And that's what's pretty neat about D'Amico, because he was going to be good regardless. But just watching him throughout last year, each game, each quarter, he learned something. And he's always trying to think and always trying to challenge his players, but always trying to keep it simple too. And it's where it at least seems simple. And that's why he gets better every game that he goes.
Kyle, when you have a production sort of speaks for itself, but as someone who's around him every day, what stands out to you about just the preparation and the way he practices and those types of things?
I just think he's so deliberate in everything he does. I mean, his intent in every step he takes on the field, everything he does in training, it's always exactly to his play. I mean, I talk about Bosa a lot in that way. But guys that everything they do in their life is always to think of how it relates to the football field. And he's a talented guy, but when you can add that part, that aspect to it, someone who really is living and dying it all the time, it really carries over to their game. And they're not just practicing, they're not just taking reps, they're getting better with each rep. And the more deliberate and intense you can have and focus you can have in anything, to me, is what allows people to be great. And he's one of those guys who I think is kind of a lead in that type of area.
When you have a defense that looks like it could be, so dominant like this, how does it change how you do things as an offensive play caller, or how does it influence it?
I mean, every play as an offensive play caller, especially as the head coach, you're thinking of how this play call helps us win the game, and that involves special teams and defense. It involves what's going on throughout everything, and sometimes you got to do things that on 1 week or a different year that you would never do in another year or in another game, because it's just about how it's going and what you think you got to do to win. And that's kind of what we try to go over each week on Wednesday. We try to tell the team in all 3 phases what we need to do. So we don't just tell it to the offense, defense, or special teams. We try to tell it to everyone together, because I think those 3 phases do feed off each other. And when one's playing at such a high level, especially like our defense, I think our offensive style plays accordingly to it, which when we do get that going, I do feel like that's when we're the hardest to beat.
We'll take 2 more.
Eastern, got an Eastern road swing coming up on a short week, and not having played particularly well in 2 road games. Is this group obviously experienced enough and mature enough to realize what's ahead?
Yeah, I think definitely. I mean, I see each game as its own week, and we got a short week, which sometimes can be good. We had a lot of fun yesterday, last night. That was a big win for us, but I mean, it's how quickly you have to move on because we're already behind schedule. So, we came in this morning, really. I've already moved on, finishing everything up last night, and it's been Carolina all day, just having to sidetrack it for this press conference for a little bit.
What are you most proud of?
Jimmy had a little rough patch in the middle of the second quarter where he threw 3 straight incompletes. What did he see? What did you see from those plays? And then also just an update on Mike Anderson and his hamstring.
Jimmy came out on fire. It kept us. I mean, we had a couple of mistakes, especially I think on that second play of the game with the protection issue, and then kept us on the field with some big third down throws. Then the 3 in a row. We took a shot to Charlie down the sideline. Just missed him. Charlie could have made a tough catch. Jimmy could have made it a little bit easier, but they just missed each other. The next play had a real good look to Ray on the screen, but Jalen Ramsey's a pretty talented long player, and he got in the passing lane and tipped it. And then on third down, Jimmy just shot a rifle to Juwan, and it just sailed a little bit over his head. Those were probably the few that he missed in the game, but overall, he played pretty damn good.
And how's Mike Anderson?
I have not seen him today. I have not got his injury report, but I hung out with him a little bit last night, and he was walking with me, so that was a good sign. I think it was just a hamstring, which is very good. We thought watching him out there was a little bit more than that, but I think I think he got away pretty fortunate with just a hamstring pull.
That's good.
All right, guys. Appreciate it. See you tomorrow.
All right, guys. Thanks.